without further ado, I am going to turn the program over to Shar, who's going to start with an opening prayer and blessing.
Thanks, Bonnie. As we begin our service today, we call on the presence of Spirit, which we know is all around us, within us, and with us every day, every hour, every minute. We know Spirit is present as we celebrate the incredibly full, vibrant, conscious life of Reverend Ed Townley, a life that touched us deeply and in many ways. We are grateful for this opportunity to come together from all over the United States and perhaps even beyond to reflect on and celebrate the life of Reverend Ed and the light, love, and laughter that he shared with all of us. We are grateful for each of you, friends, family members, former congregants, students, and colleagues who have joined us today and bring your energy and memories. We are grateful for those who will share music, experiences, and thoughts on their time with Reverend Ed, knowing the richness of his life will be expanded for us all as we join in this celebration. We know and affirm that his spirit lives on in each of us through his writing, through messages he shared at several Unity churches, through spirit expressing, through joyful conversations and day-to-day interactions, and in so many other ways. Reverend Ed was a talented man with much to share with this world, and we know his wisdom, insight, and joy lives on in all of us. Thank you, Spirit, for the incredible way that you expressed through this man and for the many ways he impacted all of us. We are so grateful to have been on the journey with Reverend Ed and for this opportunity to celebrate his vibrant life. For all of this and more, we say, thank you, Spirit, and so it is.
Every life is meant for living. Every song is to be sung. Every gift is meant for giving. It's the same for everyone. For the world was built by dreamers, those who dream, and so it seems that this world was made for dreaming. If we just wake up and dream, you can wait a lonely lifetime for a knock upon your door. Ships are safe inside the harbor, but is that what ships are for? All the world was meant for dreaming, those who dream, and so it seems that this world was meant for dreamers. If we just wake up and dream, there's a time for every person, there's a space for everything, and from every situation, what we take is what we bring. You can wait a lonely lifetime for a knock upon your door. Ships are safe inside the harbor, but is that what ships are for? All the world was meant for dreamers, those who dream, and so it seems that this world is made for dreaming. Can't we just wake up and dream? All the world was made for dreaming. dreaming. If we just wake up and dream. Thanks, Rev Ed, for teaching me how to dream.
Megan, are you going to do your second song now as well?
Sure,
Oh,
I can.
Thank you.
You bet. That was Wake Up and Dream, written by Ed Tossing, who was a long-time music director and at Unity in Chicago, a brilliant musician. And he and Gaia in Nashville performed it so often. Really grateful. So I think this is an apt message that Rev Ed would probably leave with us, wanting you to know this about yourself. You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every breath you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is found in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. All the places you will go and the people you will know. Don't worry when or where or how. You don't have to know right now. You're on the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when we're out there having fun. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. There is one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives. God the good, omnipotent. We know that there is God and only God, whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. And as we know this, we know for Ed Townley, our beloved friend and teacher, minister, that all is well in divine order. He's broadcasting on a channel we can't yet get. And how blessed I was to know him and all his amazing things. Amazing, amazing. He did some pretty amazing things. We're all here to do amazing things. rid of.
Megan, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. So next in the program, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have Ed's siblings. They're with us today. Barbara Townley and Dave Townley are on the Zoom call. We're so grateful to have them be a part of this and share part of Ed's history that is unique to them. So Barb, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. And you just need to, oh, Dave, you're going first?
I can go
Thank
first.
you so much.
Okay. I made an assumption. I should not have done that.
All right, I'll jump.
No,
Is that okay, Dave?
That's fine. And we'll go start with oldest to youngest, Barb. Go ahead.
I like the beard, Dave. That's new. Well, my name is Barbara, and I'm Ed's youngest.
I couldn't cut into you, Barbara, as the oldest, you know.
Oh, John's here.
Oh, yay. Hi, John.
Would you like to speak first, John?
Or why not? We'll keep that oldest, youngest tradition going, I guess. I actually shared some of this at the earlier meeting or ceremony. I'm John. I'm one of Ed's brothers. Eddie was 6 years older than me, so I am the oldest of the three here present today. When Eddie graduated high school, I was finishing up sixth grade, so it's kind of a unique perspective sometimes. You know, to me, my oldest brother heading off to Princeton on a full scholarship. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. I could not live up to that, of course, but you know, I'm still pretty impressed. One memory I do have is kind of a strange thing. When I was in high school, I think it was my senior year, maybe. Eddie was on Jeopardy, the TV show. Which I was pretty impressed with. Again, Alex Trebek wasn't there yet, but I was still impressed with the show. He actually won the first day he was on. Second day he did not. I still remember this years later. I remember him telling us the final Jeopardy question was the last line of Taps. But what I didn't know was that in the studio, they play that music, the Jeopardy theme in the studio also. So he's trying to remember the last line of Taps, and all he gets is that Jeopardy theme going through his head. That was his excuse anyways. So over the years, you know, we all knew some of the struggles that I had. Not all, he didn't always share with the family, I think. But I know I knew his theater work, and of course later his ministry. My brother David, I heard from David later. He's the youngest apparently. We went to Chicago for Eddie's 60th birthday party. I'm sure many of you were at. It was such an impressive event. I mean, the entire event put together, the energy I felt there, the whole spirit. It was a very good perspective of Eddie for me, because I really hadn't seen that up close. But it's also the whole community that he was part of that meant so much to him, and it was really nice to share that for a while. Kind of get better. Wow, you know, really actually Bonnie for putting this together. It's you know really a wonderful thing. So again, everybody, I hope you all have fond memories of Ed. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So now after him, I get to go because he's my older brother. So my name's Barbara, and I'm Ed's younger sister. As many of you probably know, Ed came from a large family. He was the oldest of 8. And he was 8 years older than me. And growing up, he was my hero and my protector. When I was a child, Ed was the person who made me feel loved unconditionally and who made me feel I had worth. Somehow, he always found the time to spend with his little sister, despite our age difference. I remember him taking me to the movies at the old Guthrie Theater in our small hometown of Grove City, Pennsylvania. He helped me learn to ride a bike and to swim. He used to take me to this little drugstore in Grove City called the France Drugstore, where there was a soda shop off to one side. And we would sit on stools at the counter and he'd buy me a cherry Coke and talk with me. And I just felt so special and important when I was with him. When I was 10, Ed left for college. As Don said, he headed to Princeton, and I was devastated. I missed him so much. And I remember when Thanksgiving came that year, he traveled by bus from New Jersey to come home for Thanksgiving. And it was going to be really late when he got home, and I pleaded with my mother to let me wait up for him. And she said no. And she made me go to bed, but then she said, if I woke up and heard him come in, I could come downstairs to see him. Well, of course, I made sure to stay awake, and I heard the front door open, and I ran down the stairs and threw myself into his arms. I still remember the happiness I felt that in that very moment. He brought me that visit. He brought me a ridiculously long black and orange scarf. Black and orange were the Princeton colors. And this thing had to be 6 feet long, and I was 10 years old. But I called it my Halloween scarf because of the colors. And I had that scarf for years until it finally just wore out and began unraveling. As I grew up, Ed and I remained close. I remember visiting him all over the country. He introduced me to Greenwich Village in New York. He took me to the coast of Oregon. He took my husband and me to see Blue Man Group in Chicago. I remember falling in love when he got his dog Stryker, and later falling in love with Bentley. Though I live in Southern California now, I lived for many years in Southern Maine. And I remember a weekend when Ed and Bentley came and spent the weekend with us. And Bentley just was frantic most of the weekend trying to herd us all into one room because that was his way. I last saw Ed in May of 2019. He was living at an independent living apartment, having had a stroke at that time. We spent an afternoon in his apartment and went out to our favorite Connecticut deli for dinner. His speech was a little impaired, though not nearly so much in person as it was on the phone. And he walked with a cane, but he seemed happy. He was writing a lot, and he enjoyed socializing over meals with other residents in this apartment complex. Last May, I was scheduled to travel back east again, but I had to cancel that trip because of the pandemic. And when I called Ed and talked to him about it, he told me that he was really feeling lonely because of the pandemic, because community meals had been replaced by having meals delivered directly to his apartment, and he wasn't getting to socialize with people. Ed's stroke left him with speech and balance difficulties. He had some major falls. To me, it made his life smaller, and it was hard to watch. And so, although I miss him terribly, I know he was ready for this transition. Along with my grief, I feel tremendous gratitude for his presence in my life and the lasting impact of his love. And I just want to thank Unity Chicago for this service and the opportunity to share memories of my brother with you. Thank you so much.
So lovely, Barbara. David, I'm trying to ask you to unmute.
There we
you're
go.
good. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave. Thank you, everybody. I didn't want to step on Barb's toes, so I figured I'd keep muted until she was done. I want to thank Bonnie and everybody for being here for just an amazing memory of Ed. And what an amazing, and some of you people I met in Chicago. And I love Megan. I love the opening song. Oh my goodness, if there's ever a couple of songs that summed up Ed, it was one, you know, he always had vision, whether it was in his life or a vision for other people. Me, when I got into recovery and visited him in Unity Chicago, and the whole community helped me go move forward. And Ed, as he often said, we're from a small town. And we had parents that wanted us to do better and do different than them, but I'm not sure they knew how. And Ed, as a child or as a high school graduate, or even his ministry, to me always conveyed that no dream is too big. He was absolutely amazing. And I remember he was also one of my heroes growing up. And actually one of the reasons is I remember Mom telling me the story when Ed was about 10 years old. He was upset and mad, and he was going to run away from home. And I thought about it because I remember as a child, I was going to run away from home more than once. And I'd pack a lunch, but I'd eat my sandwich by the time I got to the corner, and I'd be afraid I'd get a little hungry. So I'd go back home. And Mom telling me the story that she was absolutely frantic. Ed, at 10 years old, walked and hitchhiked 25 miles from home and went to a town a couple towns over. And it got dark, so he ended up going to grandma's house. But I couldn't believe, Ed had courage that I don't even think he realized sometimes, or that he shared with other people, just by the choices and the willingness he had to take chances and to live and to dream. And he's always been an inspiration to me, both in ministry and recovery. And he shared that. I mean, the gift and the passion and the love that I felt from the entire Unity Church whenever I would visit him was just unbelievable. It was a reflection of him and a reflection of the amazing people in his life. And I am truly honored to help share this transition of Ed to his next life. And thank you.
It's Michelle. Um, Bonnie, I am having a little trouble going in and out, so I'm sort of wondering if I should turn the hosting over to you or someone else on here.
You-
Um,
I'm sure if you, sure. Well,
I'll leave it this way for now. It's just the recording is what I'm worried about. Anyway.
oh, okay.
Sorry. So we have gone in and out a little bit. I apologize. But I wanted to read I wanted to do a reading that I heard Brian Fallon give a number of years ago for, can people hear this? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Brian Fallon did a number of years ago for a memorial service, and it really moved me and made me think of Ed's journey. So this is called Gone from My Sight by Reverend Luther F. Beecher. I'm standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts from the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come down to meet and mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she's gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me and not in her. And just at that moment when someone says, "There, she's gone," there are other eyes watching for her coming and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes." And that is dying. So with that, I'll pass on to Dan. Will you play the video that we received?
Dan, I'm not hearing anything. Did you unmute?
Oh, maybe I didn't unmute Dan.
There's Dan. Hi, Dan.
I'm Marianne Williamson, and I join with all of you in rejoicing in the life and also mourning the death of a wonderful guy, Reverend Ed Townley. I've known a lot of people in my career. I've been doing what I do for quite a long time, and his is a name that stands out. I associated with him with when I was in Chicago, seeing Ed Townley, just a great guy. And I know this must be a very difficult experience given the pandemic, given what all of this is. I'm very, very sorry to hear this news. And my prayers are with him. My prayers are with all of those who loved him, those to whom he ministered. He gave real light into this world. I know because I received some of it myself. I'm so sorry. And I'm truly feeling for all of you who are mourning his loss, but like I said, also rejoicing, not only in the life he lived, but in the life that he still lives in the greater arms of God. So I join with you in praying that he is safe, that he is at peace, and also praying for those who loved him most. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for sharing your screen in that manner. All right, this next section is the ministry section. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have several people who in advance let us know they wanted to share. If you are feeling inspired to share, again, go to the participants area, raise your hand, and we will, looks like we'll have time probably. We'll know how much more time we have after this group is complete, but whoops. Oh, hi, Annette. I'm going to be introducing Annette. But there she is. So when you do share, everyone, keep it to 2 minutes tops, so we can get as many people on that may want to. And Annette, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
We're nice to see you.
Good to see everyone. It's so lovely. And I just have a few things because I know we have a lot of people and I want everyone to have a chance. I started coming to Unity in the 80s and just found a wonderful place to be. Knew I was home. And then I had 2 little babies, and I wasn't in church as much. But when Reverend Ed came, I didn't miss a Sunday. I was just so happy to see him. And so he had so much to share. From Unity interprets Harry Potter and fairy tales and Peter Pan and all the movies that were very special at the time. And he just kept me going. And I was also fortunate enough early on to be elected to be on the board of trustees, and was surprisingly in my very first meeting on my very first board ever elected president. So I had a lot of time with Reverend Ed. We had to talk about agendas and all kinds of things. And you are going to laugh, I think. I don't know how funny it might be to everyone, but I was responsible for doing his annual performance appraisal. Now, it was kind of an interesting task, to say the least. But, we went on trips. We were in Costa Rica, and he was hand making rebar for the house we were building for Habitat and Humanity. So here he is. He wouldn't let anyone else touch it. Don't touch it. That's my job. And so we were calling him Rebar Man for a week. We just had a lot of fun. And I really missed him when he left, but I knew he wanted to share his message elsewhere. He just wanted it to go out further. And he managed to do that in Texas and in Connecticut and Boston and wherever he was, he had a message. So I just loved him very much. And this hit me pretty hard. I couldn't believe it. But I know he's already doing something else, and he's always running something else. And we don't know whether he's in construction making rebar someplace, or as a minister, or just a wonderful friend. So move on, Reverend Ed, and have a wonderful next adventure. So yeah, I have a poster behind me. Some of you were in, if children remember, and both my daughters were in it with him. And my daughter was hospitalized for something, and she had to write down who she would, limited visitors. So she had me and Reverend Ed. So she loved him too. She was very shocked. So thank you very much for letting me share. And I'm so happy to see you all in one place, sort of.
Thank you, Annette. I have a lot of memories of you at my time at Unity because we were on the board together. So thank you for sharing that. Pamela, I'm going to ask you to mute only because your face comes. Thank you so much. Zoom is strange that way. If you breathe heavy and then you're not muted, your face pops up and interrupts the speaker. So thank you so much. Lola and Nathan, you are next up.
Hi there, my name is Lola Wright, and I started attending Unity in Chicago when I was 20 years old, and I was a young mom. I had 2 little kids, and I was attending there with my older children's father. And My older children's father had relatively recently come out of the Nation of Islam, and I was coming out of the Catholic Church. And somehow Reverend Ed was able to make sense of all of that. And he really was the first model of spiritual leadership that I think I had outside of the Catholic Church. And I mean, I think I could make up a whole series of stories as to why he took an interest in me, but he just sort of always sort of made sure we hung around. And I have so much appreciation for his sarcasm, for his there was a crassness to him that I had deep appreciation for. And it was so like sobering to me to have all of that exist in a spiritual community. It worked for me. And I think when I was 22 and he decided to sell his condo on the lake in Chicago, I was like a brand spanking new realtor. And for some reason, he thought I was a good choice. And so I represented him in the sale of his place, and it sold in one day. And I think for me, that was like a demonstration of both his belief in me and his belief in the power of manifestation. And so I just have deep appreciation for him. I have deep appreciation for the range of humanity he afforded himself and that he afforded people in his company. And ironically, Nathan and I were at Unity in Chicago at the same period of time, but met many years later. So thank you for including us.
Yeah, so Unity for me was my first spiritual community. I wasn't raised anything. And when I first moved to Chicago in 2021, everyone said, you need to go to Unity, you need to go to Unity. And I said, well, you don't understand, I don't really go to church. And so for me, Reverend Ed was my first minister that was unlike any other minister that ever knew. And he did introduce me to the, Unity principles. And also I remember taking a class about the parables of Jesus. And so I really appreciated his appreciation of history and his, I think it was Annette that had said the way that he contemporized his message to make it more fun and appealing and relevant to today. So I'm here to just thank everybody from the Unity Chicago days. And I recognize that Reverend Ed really created something for me that has lasted on.
Yeah, and I'll say I was listening to his Bible Alive show on Unity online radio last night. And it's like, that guy had such chops. Like, he would go for an hour and a half on a Bible story. And I listened to a few of them last night. I was like, holy smokes. I think I'd forgotten that he went to Princeton, and somehow that all makes sense. Like, yeah, I see that. So thank you. Lots of love to his family, and very grateful to be among such familiar faces.
Thank you so much, Lola and Nathan. Next, Teddy.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And
Well,
see you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you too. Boy, some of the faces have changed.
Including yours.
Including mine. Okay, and Marty too. All right, so what I have to say about Ed is called Reverend Ed Through My Looking Glass, okay? At this time of our celebration of life for Reverend Ed, I noticed that he connected with me and Marnie and so many people in the continuous energy of our Unity community. We met so many interesting people who attended service at our home on Thome. His life work was to improve, through prayer and spiritual education, our lives and the lives of others. And I can hear, as we're listening right now, how much he impacted everybody. He was an impressive, intelligent, esoteric, interesting scholar. All congregants, including me, could feel and share a tangible energy of light, love, and laughter through his dedication to New Thought. Reverend Ed shared his vast grasp of the Bible with us in his early morning Bible classes and inspired us with many memorable Sunday series such as Harry Potter, The Hero's Journey, and more, which left me wanting to know more about the historical information. And I became filled with so much new information that I attended theology classes to learn more about the new information that I had gotten, which continues to keep me learning more and more. Thank you, Ed, for your great gift of storytelling and his radio recordings. They're still available on Bible Alive, Exploring Your Spiritual Roadmap with Reverend Ed Townley, which says he offers the most surprising Bible insights you have ever heard. And we know that one. His recordings are priceless. Reverend Ed would like the memory of him to be a happy one. He would like to leave an afterglow of smiles now that his life has done. He would like to leave an echo whispering on the winds of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. He would like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that he leaves now that his life is done. Farewell, my friend. See you on the other side.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're unmuted.
Yeah, Mark, you're up next.
I'm up and I'm unmuted, apparently. Sometimes my wife lets me talk. I first met Reverend Ed at Unity when he took over the ministry in 1998. And from the first, the thing that I most loved about Ed was his storytelling. And a number of people have already mentioned that. But it's not only the human story itself, but more importantly, its spiritual message and metaphysical interpretations. So I also remember his hero's journey, Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan, and you know, it opened up a whole new vista of things. Now, Harry Potter, to me, just reading the books was a little scary, but when Reverend Ed covered it, it was fascinating. So that's really something that so strikes me about him. He was a spiritual giant to me, but with the human side, that grounded me to understand that we had commonality in the challenges of life. It made his spiritual lessons that much more relatable to me because I knew that he had a human side that I could relate to fully. And it's interesting that that condo that he had, I represented him in his first purchase. And if you want to see the human side of Ed, have him buy a condo. Anyway, I really considered him to be my spiritual guru, both in the lessons that he taught me as well as in the lessons of his life. I know I will miss his presence on this planet, but I also rest in the certain knowledge that he is now off on a new hero's journey, and he will always be with me, and he will always be with us in spirit. So farewell, Reverend Ed. And sorry, but excuse me, but I would love to be one of the people on the other shore saying, here he comes, here he comes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mark. Whew. B and Dwayne.
Yeah, we are. Oh. Hi, I'm Dwayne of Dwayne and B. I came from a family of a fallen away Catholic mother and an agnostic father. And we had no car when I was growing up, and we moved a lot. So I ended up going to a lot of churches. and never ever really got hooked. And I had been coaching in Florida when I was in my 60s and came up, and Bea had been going to church at Unity, and she said, would you like to go? And I said, fine. And on the 4th Sunday I was there, it was new members. And so he called everybody up to the stage as a new member and then said, if there's anyone else who would like to join, please come up to the stage. A force got me out of my chair and walked me up to the stage, and I became a new member. 3 weeks later, I went to the basics class that I was supposed to take before I became a new member. He looked at me and he said, you look familiar. So I explained what had happened, and we went on from there. The two things I wanted to talk about were the travels that we took with him. One was to Machu Picchu in Peru. And the thing that struck me while we were there was how closely he stayed with the shaman. And it was like he was picking the shaman's brain and trying to learn as much as he could about this other way of looking at God. The second trip we took with him, he was in Dallas at the time, and we heard there was a group going to Turkey to do the journey, follow the journey of St. Paul. And we thought that would be great. So we went and joined the group and did the tour. This time, Ed really wanted to be more of a tourist. And we had a hard time nailing him down to talk about the journey of St. Paul. But when we did nail him down, he sat down, and it was like a session at church as he explained and did the background and the whole thing. I just would never, ever forget that. And all of the things that are wonderful about Ed, I loved his very dry sense of humor. He had a way of just tickling you with something that just came off the cuff, but still drove home the point that he was trying to make. So I thank him for waking me up, and send congratulations to his family for being part of his family and having the richness of growing up with him.
So I'd like to also speak because I found Ed also in the 80s, and my world changed. I had not heard about Unity. I was a Unitarian, and Unity opened my world. I remember on the very first service, a part of Ed's service, he said, "We are resurrection people." And I knew I had found a home. And today, in fact, we need that thought. We are resurrection people. I too went through the Harry Potter workshop and met so many friends that are still very, very close friends today. Because of Ed, I took many, many classes in Kansas City, some of them with Ed, and wanted to become a practitioner. So it truly, truly not only met the goals and values that I had already held, but expanded them so that I don't think I could even consider how I would have survived and do the things that I do in my life right now without having that base of metaphysics and the Unity practices. So Ed and his wishes and his words are always in my heart.
Thank you, Bea and Dwayne. Appreciate you share very much, and everyone who shared thus far. So now let's see, time-wise, we have about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. If there's anybody else who, okay, can you guys mute again? Just so we make sure everyone's muted. For anybody else who wants to share, Michelle I'm turning this section over to Michelle. She's going to call on anyone who's raised their hands in the participant area. So she said there's 2 in queue, but if anybody else would like to share, we have about 10, 15 minutes, again, limited to 1 to 2 and minutes. And then we'll go into the next section of our program, Spirit Expressing.
Great. We'll start with Jenny Landfeld.
Hi, everybody. It's just so absolutely wonderful to see everybody here. Miss you all so much. I just, what's been occurring to me is just to share some of the really beautiful experiences of watching Ed's inspiration in action. I went to him very early on coming to Unity and brought this idea of presenting different series that had to do with diversity. And we talked all the different kinds of diversity. And I mentioned like spiritual path diversity. He went, let's do that first. And that inspiration from Ed became the Many Paths series. And he was just willing to give so much room for people to explore themselves, to explore what they were able to participate in. We created a beautiful, huge group of people that put that together. And when we were in the planning of it, there were times when Ed would call me at home, sometimes kind of late at night, and I would just pick up the phone and he would say, Jenny, and he would be whispering like a child with some inspiration that he'd had. He's like, I just realized what we're doing. And it was just so incredibly beautiful to see how inspired he allowed himself to be, how open to inspiration Ed was. And so when I think of that, I think of that almost like a child whispering, Jenny, I get what we're doing. It was just so incredibly precious. And then I think also of the inspiration that drove so many of his sermons. And I knew what he was planning to talk about. And I knew so often it wasn't written down how he concluded those sermons. And I know everybody here knows about that. Like he brought it home again. So, that capacity to just reach into spirit, to reach into open receptivity, to find that way that would move people's hearts. And so, I will always think of Ed as somebody inspired and brilliant and so heart-driven. And I love him deeply. I love you all. And thank you, Ed Townley, for bringing together the most remarkable community I've ever participated in. So much love, everybody.
Thanks. Suzanne, do you want to go next?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, I sound like a Zoomer. It's wonderful to see so many faces that are familiar to me. I worked at Unity from 2000 and 2018, kind of behind the scenes at youth ministry. And I just want to share a couple of very brief recollections about Ed. I guess the overarching thing is I remember his kindness. I used to get there early to help set up for the youth ministry, and maybe we'd see each other over, a cup of coffee or tea, and sometimes we just exchanged a glance, and he had a wonderful way of crinkling his eyes when he smiled. I thought that was always something I could count on. In terms of the Bible class, I agree with a lot of the other people I've heard speak that being raised Catholic and choosing to really leave the Catholic Church at age 11, I think it was, I never really thought I'd be comfortable in a church again. And every assumption I had about that was dissipated when I became a part of the Unity community. I initially came there to join a grief group when I was going through a divorce, and quickly just felt very much at home there with the diversity of people that were there, the different kinds of parents and children that I got to see grow up. But when I think about the Bible class, I think about how much I learned about the Bible, even though I'd spent probably 16 years in Catholic institutions, undergraduate, graduate school, Loyola DePaul. I learned so much more. But on top of that, I think the study of other religions sticks out in my mind. How much he taught us to appreciate how we really truly are all one and connected despite our differences, and how we look at what it means to be a believer in something. The final thing I'd like to share is that I remember very, very clearly the day after 9/11, I guess that would be September 12th, 2001. I went to the Heartland Cafe and I saw Reverend Ed sitting by himself, drinking a cup of coffee, just kind of staring into space. And I realized the heaviness that we all felt that day was something that I think he took even more seriously than all of us put together. And I don't remember what he said, but I do remember at the next service, I felt hope about the future of the world despite the terrible things that had happened that week. I just would like to conclude with a quote that I found that made me think of him for some reason. It's from Marcus Aurelius. It says, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And he did all those things and showed us how to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Larry Barkley and Ramona, you want to go next?
I'll
Oh,
unmute.
thank you. Thank you
Unmute.
very much. Yeah, Ramona and I are here. We'll make it fairly quick, or I'll make it fairly quick. I remember the electricity that was in the church. You know, I went through some churches where I really didn't want to go to church. And I finally wanted to go to church. No, I had to go to church because I was going to miss something if I didn't. It was the anticipation. I was like a 5-year-old kid at Christmas, that every week I look forward to it. And my God, Ed, thank you so much for bringing my energy and my life and my enthusiasm and my excitement to life and studying my spiritual path. So Ramona, you want to add anything?
Yeah, we're both recovering Catholics, and found ourselves going to church because we wanted to, not because it was going to be a sin if we missed it, every Sunday. And one memory I want to share about Ed is I'll never forget on 9/11, he always had a way of bringing spirituality and comfort in some way to you. And that was such a horrible time, as we all know. And I remember him saying in the sermon that Sunday, remember to pray for those people that went into the towers and the people that died in that incident, because they sacrificed their lives for us, you know, with a lot of love in their hearts. So that's it. And I will miss him. And I thank him also for everything I learned through Harry Potter and all his sermons.
Blessings to you all. Thank you.
Blessings.
Thanks. Thanks. We have just 4 more minutes and I have 3 more hands. So if everybody could try to make it about a minute, that would be great. Okay, so Jean, you want to go next?
Thank you, Michelle. Well, I'm always going to be forever positively changed by Reverend Ed. He was very welcoming to me at a time when I'd gone to practice Buddhism for a couple years, and I came back and I told him, you know, well, I've been studying Buddhism. And he said, well, that's great. You know, and he was just always so very welcoming to me. And he always made me feel that I was in a safe haven. It was just a wonderful place to be when he was there. And I appreciated, there was one point in one service where he mentioned about you can't ignore if something bad has happened. You have to acknowledge it. Because it will be like a wound that's festering. And he really, he was very much about, you know, getting in there and examining what has happened and then move on, you know, and I really have a lot of respect for him because of that. And I loved his ta-da too at Easter. I'm sure you'll all remember how Reverend Ed would, you know, he would talk about how Jesus said, well, now you can do this too. And then, you know, then he he made his transition, and then the next day, ta-da! And I just always remembered the beautiful touches he gave to the stories of the Bible, and just all of his teachings were so powerful. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Jean. So we have 2 more minutes and 2 more people. So Vera and then Connie Sexton. So Vera, you want to go next?
Sure. What I want to share about Reverend Ed is that when I start to go to Unity, my first impression of them, even though he was very loving on the stage, it was a very serious impression. He felt to me a person that was not so easily to be approached. But I heard very deep in my heart this desire to invite him to take a sacred journey with me to Peru. And I remember how I was nervous and afraid and praying for him, welcome me in that meeting when I have my meeting to invite him to consider. And right there, he was so kind and love and opened his heart. And I go, oh my God, thanks Spirit for this, outcome. And when I went to Peru with Reverend Ed, I went before everybody, so he would have a time to adjust to the elevation. And it was interesting because, of course, I was still walking a little bit in shells with him because I didn't have any intimacy with him. But right away, because of the elevation, he became a very vulnerable person. And how I saw Reverend Ed during that journey, it was the man and the holiness, like the sacred part of him and the human part of him. And so I was able to be there to nurture and love him, and how he opened his heart to receive that love, to be able to accept it being taken care of, and how grateful he was the whole time, expressing gratitude for me, how I was taking care of him. And when the group came and we started to take the journey, many people are here in this meeting, a wonderful group of people. He kept himself very humble. He made sure that was something to be led by the ministers of that land. And he was telling me all the time, Vera, I do not want to step in, not because I don't want it to work, it's because I wanted to honor them. But them wants to honor him. And so the whole journey, I was between him and them doing the translation and telling Reverend Ed, please step forward because they want you to be the minister of the ceremonies as well. And he was very humble all the time, accepting that exchange. And there was one holy moment that is always in my heart, is that him and this shaman is in front of a sacred water fountain, and they put their forehead together. No words was being exchanged, but you felt that they was honoring and respecting their sacredness and exchanging that beautiful knowledge that we carry in our spirit. So I just felt like I want to share this with you because many of you here was part of that community that I love so much, that I enjoy so much to be a part of. And Reverend Ed had showed to me parts of him that I don't know if everybody was able to see, but I was very fortunate to witness that. And for those parts of him, when he was one, he was really open and loving. And that's what I have with me always. And that's what I will always remember of him, how sacred and how human he was. So whatever he is, I know the sacred wisdom of the universe will be honoring him and invite him to step forward to be a minister there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Connie, we're a little over, so could you keep it really, really short?
Okay. I just wanted to talk. We all know he had the ability to take something complex and make it simple. And one day, my father was in church with me, and he loved Reverend Ed. And I was also raised Catholic. And we were out for breakfast after the service, and my dad just sort of laughed and said, "You don't have to know how electricity works to turn on a light," which is one of Reverend's examples of how natural law is natural law, and you don't have to believe in it or understand it, you just trust it. So I thought that was kind of profound in the way he had of just cutting to the chase of what was going on. And I won't tell anybody anything else in the interest of time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Connie. That was perfect share to end this section with. So next section, in our closing section, we're gonna turn it over to Jennifer King. This is our Spirit Expressing section of the program. Jennifer?
Hi,
Oops. Oh, Jennifer, yeah, oh, there she was
Hi.
muted. There we go.
I had the honor of serving on the board with many of the wonderful people here today, and it was quite a blessing to know Ed that way. And my husband also was in Spirit Expressing in a number of the plays with Ed, so we had that connection with him as well. And I just wanted to share this poem by Maya Angelou called When Great Trees Fall. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Thank you, Reverend Ed, for existing for all of us.
Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen Vaccaro. So great to see you all. I worked a lot with Ed, not only with Spirit Expressing, which I'll get to, but I knew Ed long before I came to Unity in Chicago. Some of you may not know, but he worked a lot in Chicago theater and contributed a lot to the off loop theater movement. Jack Helbig from the Chicago Reader called him one of the busiest people in Chicago theater back in the 80s. He directed for Wisdom Bridge, which was an equity theater, now defunct, and also directed at Pegasus Players and Apple Tree. He acted with Practical Theater, and he also directed several shows with a theater company I was with called Huron Theater. He approached the theater and he said he wanted to do a show by Christopher Durang called History of American Film. Okay, that'll give you a sense of his wicked sense of humor. And the one distinct memory from that show was how much fun I had. I just had so much fun working on that show. Opening night, he got Christopher Durang to come to the show, who was his old boyfriend, and he saw the show and did rewrites, and we implemented them the next night. And he also wrote a musical called Happy Birthday, Joseph K. It's a musical based on an adaptation of Franz Kafka's the trial. And the trial was about this guy named Joseph K., who was arrested and accused by some unaccessible, he didn't know who accused him, but he was guilty and he was on trial. And and didn't know what he was guilty for. And I'll sing you the song later. It has a lot of gravity, but is incredibly ironic. And I just remember just how much fun and how much cojones and courage it took to just come to this theater company and say, I want to do these shows with you guys. I don't anyway. I was just really taken by that. And fast forward, I walk into Unity Church in the late 90s, and oh my God, there's Ed Townley. And he looked like a bright, shiny penny. He was beaming. He looked healthier than I'd ever seen him. His hair was fully gray, and it was a great thing. I mean, when I say gray, I mean, he looked, I just looked so great. Truly ministry became him. And he said, okay, you got to come over to my apartment. And he's like, well, you're going to teach classes. And he talked about spirit expressing. And I was just really moved that I was so supported by him, And we went on to do many theater pieces that children still remember. A Man for All Season, which I ended up directing. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to direct that. I'm not going to direct that. And he was kind of like, sing out Louise moment. And it's like, pushed me forward to do it. And I got the courage to do that. And we did Spoon River. There was a benefit raising money for him to go to see the Dalai Lama, Hello Dolly, which was a musical review. And there was Spoon River that said that he did a radio show, the concerts. I mean, the thing I was moved most about Ed was how generous he was, and his, God bless him, how much fun, and his wicked sense of humor. When Megan sang that song, it's like, yes, it was about fun. It was about fun. And really, to this day, if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. It was the only church my husband felt comfortable attending. My whole family attended. My daughter, after we adopted her, was a big part of the community, and it really contributed a lot. So I want to end with a song that he wrote called Guilty. And please accept it in the spirit that he intended. And so this is a song sung in a club, like a kind of a punk jazz club. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't feel guilty of something. Maybe that's why no one stays in my life, 'cause I always feel guilty of something. Why is the burden of all the world's grief standing right here on my shoulder? If I never thought I would find any relief, I couldn't bear to get one day older. Everybody here today is guilty. Every one of you is guilty, and you know it's true. You have been guilty for a long time. You have been guilty in your hearts, guilty in your minds. And that's Ed Townley. I love you, Ed. I miss you. Thank you so much.
Great seeing everyone here. It's quite the big blast from the past, and it's so amazing to hear all those stories. So I've known Ed a long time, and I was a prolific photographer since I was a teenager. So I have a lot of photos to share, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Let me pull that up. Let me share the screen. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Okay. Let me get rid of all my other stuff. Sorry, I thought I had this prepared. I think I should be fine now. Okay, let's give this a try. There we go. Very good. So can you all see that? I met Ed in 1986, and a friend of mine suggested going to Unity of Beaverton, and I was brought up a Lutheran, so really I had no experience with Unity whatsoever. And so met Ed there, and this is at the original Unity of Chicago over on Cleveland. And I want to make sure you all can hear me. So let's see.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. So Ed was not a minister yet then. Ed was a lay minister. Mike and Sarah were the ministers. And really, the message blew me away that the presence and power of God is within you. And I had never heard that before, but it resonated so deeply, like, of course, I've known this all my life. And so I started attending Unity with my partner at the time, Dave, and we both got to know Ed quite well. And so this is a photo of all of us. Ed spent Christmas at our apartment in Chicago. I think this is probably 1988. Right before Ed went into ministerial school. And and then he attended he went to Unity and Lee's Summit, and then spent 2 years and became a minister. And where are the rest of my photos here? Okay, that's how that's gonna work. 3 years later, Ed gets ordained. I decided to leave Chicago. I moved to Portland, Oregon on a whim. And he's not sure what to do with his ministry. And so he comes for a visit, likes Portland, and says, I'm going to start an alternative arts ministry. That's when Spirit Expressing started. So this was he and I living in my little 400 square foot studio apartment. And we had rented the Northwest Service Center for Sunday night services for this alternative arts ministry. And here we are printing out the first bulletins and getting those ready for the service.
Alex, we're not seeing the individual photos. We're seeing the thumbnails all together.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Yeah, do view slideshow, go to your view and do slideshow view.
Thank you. I should have done this before, okay.
Or share view. Michelle, where would the slideshow view be?
I'm not sure, Dan, Paterno may, but I think if you double click on the picture, it might get big and then you could just click through them. Try that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Nope, not working that way.
Yeah.
Right click to view.
No, you know what? I see what's happening. We have an arrow here and I couldn't see it. There we go. Because of this is in the way. Okay, so I'll put that down there. Thank you. So yeah, Ed's on the phone call, and
It's still not working, Alex. So just to let you know. So we're going to probably need to just speed this section up a little bit because the pictures aren't,
sure.
You might need to start a new share screen.
Okay, let's get rid of this. Shoot. Okay, that might be. My apologies. And okay, hold on here. Just give me another. Okay,
these pictures are so priceless too.
Alex, if you unshare this screen and share it again like we did before, it might work.
Right, okay. Stop share, stop video, stop share.
Oops.
Yeah, that's what
That was intentional.
okay, so I'm going to then, yeah, okay, that should hopefully work. And then I'm going to share a screen, and then I'm going to go to this.
Yay!
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you for your technical help.
Oh, it wasn't me. Whoever said stop sharing, it definitely wasn't me. But thank you all for your help.
So this is our first Spirit Expressing service ever, Sunday nights at the Northwest Service Center in Portland, Oregon. And there's Ed, very pleased with himself, and he should be. It was a great service. And so this is Spirit Expressing in Portland, Oregon, about 1992. We had a troop, this troop that you see here, and Ed, being incredibly brilliant and creative, wrote a set of vignettes that we would perform at other Unity churches. That's up at Crystal Mountain. That's actually Mount Rainier right there. And so this was the Northwest Unity annual meeting that we had done our work at. There's another photo of Ed there and the troop. You could see his humor and slight sarcasm coming through. That would be my dog. Ed and I think we're at the Northwest New Thought Alliance meeting there. And again, the Spirit Expressing group up at Crystal Mountain. And this is this is a man, I can't remember the name of the play, a play that he wrote.
Greater Things Than These.
What was it, Patty?
Greater Things Than These.
Greater Things Than These, yes. So Ed, with all his chutzpah, decided we're going to put on an original play. He wrote it. We found a musician to write the music. So it was all original, everything. Music, script. We rented the Northwest Service Center again. And that was Patty, who you had just heard. And that's Patty there in the photo, who was also part of our group. And we did this play for, I think, 3 or 4 nights. And it actually got really good reviews by the Willamette Week. But you know, Ed had a lot of balls to pull things off, and it was a great experience. And that's a photo, from the play. And this was one of the first Spoon River anthology performances that was done again in the Northwest Service Center. And of course, the Easter hat event, which I think continued in Chicago. This is actually at Ed's first church, would have been at the Grange in Beaverton, and this is before Unity of Beaverton. Ed enjoying the lovely Pacific Northwest, the Columbia River Gorge. And this was a service at the Beaverton Grange before Unity of Beaverton. So pretty much one of the first congregations he ever got. And then Spirit Expression continued to work also. Ed telling one of his many stories on the coast of Oregon. This is at Brighton Bush Hot Springs, which is a spot that he loved to go to. Ed surprised in his kitchen that I took a photo. And this is Unity of Beaverton. So the team there, pretty much our team and the music team, and Mary Huebner. Again, Ed. So this would have been around 1994. Again, all at Unity of Beaverton. Ed putting something together for Christmas. And Ed and Bonnie the Buick. That was my 1967 Buick Skylark. We shared a home together in Beaverton at this time. And then Ed, in 1996, he had an opportunity to become Minister of Unity of Chicago. And this is him in his office there. Of course, we all remember Stryker. And these are some photos from the galas that we had. Dr. John Vasquez there. You all could unmute yourself if you want, if you have laughs or comments. Chris Marshall. Lovely photo. Some more of the events at Unity of Chicago.
Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow.
I love the look on Ed's face in this.
There's Bonnie.
Yeah, there's Bonnie and Wally. Yep.
I know.
The
masquerades. Such great events.
Oh, masquerade.
Ed Stryker in front of that first condo that you sold there, Mark.
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
You remember him?
yeah.
Yeah.
Connie. This was a Christmas party at Ed's condo.
Mm-hmm. Ed and Gail.
Yeah, Ed and Gail.
And I think that's Jan Paterno.
Yeah.
And there's David Townley, who spent Christmas there.
Huh.
The Secret Santas, right?
Oh, yeah, the white elephants.
I think this is Secret Santa, yeah.
Oh my God, those were fun games.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I love that picture.
Oh, sweet.
That's a great photo, yeah. They adored each other, oh my goodness. And so this is Ed on the trip to the Middle East in 2016.
Cool.
That's a great shot.
Yep. That was probably 2016, 2017. Yeah. And that's all I have. Thank you for allowing me to share. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, they were great. I'm so glad. Thanks for the help, everyone, in getting the full view up and running.
Yeah.
So Alex, stop sharing. Perfect. Okay. If you unmuted to make comments, mute your phone again so there's no outside interference.
Give me a minute, Bonnie, and I'll
Oh,
just
sure.
mute everybody and then unmute you, okay?
Okay, sure. Oh, there's a doggy. Oh,
Yeah,
hello.
Katie's here. Yeah.
She is beautiful. Hi, Katie. Well, first of all, thank you everyone who shared today.
I'm sure if you go this way.
I have to ask you to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So anyway, I just want to thank everyone for sharing, who shared and being a part of this program. I've been asked to close it out, and I served on the board of directors with Rev Ed. I was involved in planning the fundraisers at Unity, as well as the Millennium New Year's Eve gathering. I was in Children Remember that Ed Townley co-wrote and directed, and I planned that 60th birthday celebration at Unity that many people have referenced today. So my relationship with Ed was rich, and it covered many areas. It was also really healing for me, in particular for my little girl. And Barbara, it was really moving for me to hear you speak about how Ed really provided this safe place for you, and this nurturing, because that was my relationship with Ed as well. My relationship with my own father was one where I felt a bit limited in what I could share with him, and I often came away not feeling heard or seen. But with Ed, the healing was I was able to approach him openly and lovingly and honestly regarding my feelings, as well as feelings expressed by members of the congregation and board of directors, because he was sometimes a little challenging, as we all remember. I mean, that was the human side of Ed, right? That's what we all loved about him. He was like this incredible spiritual teacher, and then we saw his human side. So where others were often intimidated by Ed, I felt the safety within the context of our relationship to approach him, and did regularly behind the scenes. And when I moved to Arizona in 2004, I called Ed from the car, because leaving Unity, truthfully, was the hardest part about leaving Chicago. Leaving this family that I'm seeing again, that I've not been able to recreate in my 16 years in Arizona, is truly, all of you will never know how difficult that time was, leaving the city in that car. And I shared that with Ed during that phone call. And I also shared with him how he helped my little girl heal around areas pertaining to my father, and how being able to approach him in our connection with an open heart and his open ear helped me heal. And during that call, he told me that I helped him heal as well. He said he really appreciated that I would come to him, and he really had wished others would do the same. So it was one of those moments I will always cherish in my journey with Ed. And there is so much more I could share about Ed and stories and such, but I'm going to do it typical in a Bonnie Green fashion, and sing what I wrote for Reverend Ed for his 60th birthday, and that I sang at Unity and at the party that weekend. Who knows how to create a great sermon? Rev Ed. Who teaches Unity basics again? Rev Ed. Who has been marrying gay couples long before Ellen and Portia hit San Fran? And who's there to lend a spiritual cheer when our careers come to an end? Who helps our victim consciousness be gone? Rev Ed. Who helps us see our addictions and move on? Rev Ed. Who makes flutter and circle at the mention of his name? You've helped us see the light again, and you've given us the drive again to take Mel Gibson on again, Rev Ed. your own unique style. Rev Ed, your talks provoke both a tear and a smile. Rev Ed, you have our true devotion. You've taken unity so very far. And we love the plans in place for the new sanctuary and a lot for cars. Who fills our lives with abundance and joy. Rev Ed, and who sometimes pouts and shows his little boy. Rev Ed, you came, you saw, you conquered, and nothing, absolutely nothing is the same. Your special, fascinational, proved to be inspirational. We think you're just sensational. Rev Ed. Thank you all for being a part of today's celebration.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bonnie. That was great.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I had the CD saved. I had to go through, dig through files because I didn't remember those words, everybody. It's been 20 years memory, but no, I'm really grateful that I saved it.
Blessings,
Thank you all
everybody.
so much.
Hi, Sylvia.
Thank you, Bonnie, so much for pulling us all together. That was a wonderful way to sum up who Reverend Ed was. Thank you.
Well, I want to take a moment to thank Michelle and Mark, who came, like, literally, they really helped pull this program together. Alex, who inspired having this program. We were chatting like a month ago, and then he's like, I'm like, we should do a celebration of life. So this has been a co-creative process, and I'm super grateful for everyone's participation.
Great job, Bonnie.
Blessings, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you for the
Well,
clip.
be able to see this. You're recording it, right?
Yeah, I recorded it. I may have missed a minute in the beginning, but I recorded it, and we'll figure out how to, we'll probably put it, see if we can post it on the Spirit Expressing or post a link to it on that Spirit Expressing website, which Chuck Heisinger and Dan Paterno have done some work on. So spiritexpressing.org.
Right.
Right. So I think we'll figure out how to link it to that. Okay.
Fantastic. All righty. Blessings, everyone.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Good to
everybody.
see you all.
Beautiful service. Thank you so much.
Wonderful to see all these faces.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't want to go.
How about an in-person reunion after all this craziness is over, like next summer or sometime, like meet somewhere and come together and hug each other again.
So Jenny, where are you?
I'm in California.
Yeah, I was going to say that background did not look like Chicago.
I wonder how many of us have, like Bonnie said, she never reinvented the community quite the same.
Yeah.
And someone else saying, like had to go on Sunday. And it's just really, it's reinforcing. It's just a heart swelling.
Yeah.
FYI, I'm loving Michael Beckwith on Sunday mornings, live stream Agape.
Yeah, me too.
So if anybody wants to hop on and do a watch party or whatever, just check it out on Sunday morning. It's free. It's really wonderful. Much love to all of you.
Good, Miriam. You too, Miriam.
Love everybody.
Nobody wants to go home.
No, we don't want to leave. No, you're right. Nobody wants to leave.
Well, about 25 people left. I'm looking in the participation. Oh, now we're down to, okay.
Okay, I'll leave. I'll be
The real fans are here.
Yeah. And
The
when we-
diehards at those parties, Annette, right?
That's right. No more, Bonnie.
we
You
have
can
to-
leave in alphabetical order.
Oh, I see.
Diane, how are you?
I'm all
We
right.
have
How
to
are you?
drive to Chicago yet this afternoon, so we're going to be cutting out early. Not early.
Ah,
Except with that, we're in charge of the recording, so it makes it harder.
Oh.
Well, it's hard if you guys need to go. It's nice that people feel the desire.
Yeah,
to
drive
stay on.
safely.
Yeah, safe travels, you guys.
Really
weather
great
is
seeing
nice here.
everyone. Really
Thank you,
great
Karen.
seeing
Thank you for
everyone.
your share. Appreciated it.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity and
Thanks a
thank you,
lot
everybody.
for putting it
Yeah.
together, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Blessings.
Thank you so much.
Good to see everybody.
Oh, so good
Thank
to see everybody.
Where's the leave button?
Blessings, everyone.
Thanks
Bottom
for
right.
putting all this together. I appreciate it.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, blessings. Good to
All
see
right.
you.
There we go.
Oops, there goes Katie.
Oops, leave.
Okay, I think, hi, Candace. Okay, I'm gonna stop because I froze.